I don't think there's anything more stirring than the pipe and drums. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Can I ask you please to hold on to the roof? If something happens to the roof, we'll carry on. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being here this morning. We're here to celebrate the life of Faith Arneld Booysen. To celebrate who she is, who she was to you, and every single thing that you are feeling this morning. My name is Troy Goldie, and I've been given the honor to be here this morning just to share a few words with you. And Faith passed away on the 15th of August, 2024. Today is a day that is very difficult for each and every one of you. It's a day that none of you look forward to. And yet we can be here with happiness in our hearts because of the fact that we knew Faith. I'm going to ask that we just close our eyes and ask for God's blessing on our coming together. Our Father, today is a sad day for those that love Faith, for those that are left behind. But Father, it's also a happy day when we consider the time that we had to share with Faith and the relationships we built up with her. Father, we pray that your hand of comfort will be over all of us today and the days that lead on from today. We thank you for Faith's life and the fact that she's now with you in a better place. May she rest in peace by your side. Amen. I was told Psalm 23 was a favorite. Anybody heard of it before? Yeah, one. Good. In fact, if you look at your booklet, you'll see that the words are actually there as well. So you're more than welcome to follow along if you would like to. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I really think that encompasses a lot about Faith's life. Standing in front of family and friends of a loved one that has passed away is definitely not an easy task, I can guarantee you that. It's a huge responsibility to honor the life of the departed in a way that creates closure and comfort for those that are left in mourning. I've been given the opportunity to speak for a few minutes this morning, whose life we are celebrating today. As I said about this task on behalf of the family, I am very aware of the fact that I've never, unfortunately, met Faith. This is really sad for me, as the stories that I've heard about her makes her sound like such an amazing person. And it's so sorry that I never got a chance to meet her. But even though I did not know her, that's okay. Because it's not about what I knew and the fact that I knew her. It's about you, what you knew of her and your relationship with her. Each one of you see Faith in different contexts. Whether you're a sibling, a child, a grandchild, other family or friend. I believe Faith would have been very pleased and honored to see all of you here this morning to share this final journey. I believe it was also with the continued support and well wishes which were valued and valuable to her in her life, and the support that she got. And for that, I want to say thank you. So today we gather to celebrate the story that is Faith and the story that Faith has written, a story that reflects the circle of life, a circle that is now complete. I want you to think about every person here has their own circle of life, their own story. And in some way, your story and your circle of life has overlapped with Faith's. And that's what we want you to tap into today. To remember those moments and those times that you've had with Faith and what she brought to your life and what you brought to her life. So who is Faith to you? Who was Faith to you? So let's reflect on her life and her story. This is the information that I've been given, and I'm sure this is but just a little drop in the ocean of who she was. She was born on the 10th of February, 1944, and over a span of 80 years, Faith has been on her journey through this life, a successful life and a good life, a life that we can be proud of. Faith left the world a better place because she was here. Agree? I want you to think and reflect on your shared story. You're going to hear me say these things over and over again because I really want to emphasize. To keep Faith alive in your memories, you need to reflect on her. You need to talk about her. Faith was the eldest of 9 siblings. Unfortunately, 5 of them have passed away and are now reunited with Faith, I believe. Vivian, unfortunately, is not here today. Rosalind is here. She's going to talk later. Where's Rosalind? Hello, Rosalind. She's going to talk a bit later. And Marilyn, who unfortunately is also not here because she's at home looking after her sick husband, Ian. And I know that Faith had a very special place in her heart for their struggle. Can I talk to you directly on behalf of the other two? You shared probably the longest story with Faith. I'm sure you've got special memories, beautiful memories, incredible things that you know that even maybe your siblings don't know. And certainly maybe the children don't know and the grandchildren don't know and the family and the friends. And I certainly don't want to encourage you to divulge personal and secret stuff, but it is so important that, Rosalind, you can share stories as you move forward. Maybe it's today, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's at some point else in the future. By just talking about her and what she did and what she meant to you and little things that people don't know, it just makes her alive. It brings her into reality for each and every one of us. So I'm going to really encourage you to share as many of those stories as you can. Faith was married to John, and I believe she's reunited with Faith after he passed away in 2003. And together they had 2 children, Terry the eldest, and Warren. Can I speak to you guys? That you shared an incredible story with your mom and a circle of life. I mean, think about it. Your circle of life has been the same arc as your mom up to this point in time. You also have things that are known to you and only you. Those conversations that you've had, those moments that you've had. And again, I encourage you, wherever possible, to share those stories. Even in the quietness of your own minds and your hearts, just to think about those things and get that smile on your face and that happiness in your life when you think about what she meant to you. So keep her memory alive. Terry, you've got 2 children, Trinity and Tiffany. Where are you guys? Lovely, lovely. While Warren, you've got Kendra, Taryn, and Giovanna, and Melissa. Almost, eh? Almost, Melissa. They said I must leave you to last because you're most important. Okay, all right. If I could speak to you guys. Well, I'm sure she was excited to know that she had grandchildren and granddaughters. None of us guys that, are problems. As a grandchild, you were lucky to be exposed to your grandmother. What did you call her? Granny. All right, let's go for that. You were exposed to Granny for all the years that you had with her. And I'm sure that, again, you have special memories and moments that you shared with her. Things that, again, are only known to you. You know, the younger granddaughters will not have the amount of memories of Granny that you guys have. And I think it's important for you guys to share those, especially with the younger ones, so that they will always know how special Faith was. Your grandmother apparently was not the typical grandparent. She was involved very actively in your lives. Apparently she played a very motherly role for you guys. And she did so much for you. She was proud of each and every one of you. I would love you to remember the advice and the love that she shared with you. And I ask you to live up to that example. In addition to your presence here, we've also received many messages of condolence and compassionate words from people Faith touched over the years who are unable to attend today. These messages match those that echo in our minds and the examples of her selfless, tireless, and determined support for her friends and her family throughout her life. Faith was elegant, beautiful, and was happiest when she knew that others were happy. She gave so much of herself. She was a published author and a lover of time. Apparently, she built Stonehenge. No, sorry. No, she didn't build it. She did something with it. What did she do with it again? She? Used as part of the solar calendar. Amazing. Sorry, she didn't build it. Of course not. I want to share that John, her husband, bought a farm for himself and Faith back in 1991 in Banhoek, where a lady was working called Julia. Where's Julia? Hello, Julia. Julia started working for and with Faith and John, and she's been with Faith, by Faith's side ever since, even up to the day that Faith passed away. Julia, I want to say thanks on behalf of the family for your love and dedication to Faith, and you are a part of the family and you are appreciated. You also have many stories in the quietness of that time that you spent with Faith, where you spoke about things that you could share. And I ask you to do that. A circle of life has to have an ending. And for Faith, that happened on the 15th of August of this year. This also apparently is a significant date, as it's the Assumption of Mary, and for Terry specifically, it's a very special date. I believe that she's been reunited with those that she loved, that she lost. She leaves behind a legacy which I think you can all be proud of. I'm going to ask Melissa to come forward, please. And Melissa is going to do a dedication and a talk on behalf of the granddaughters, please.
Hello, everyone. My grandma was an exceptional woman. My grandma was an exceptional woman. For anyone who knows Death at a Funeral, her favorite movie, that one's for you. But actually, the true opening line of this eulogy came to me really easily when I first sat down to write the speech to memorialize our grandma. I immediately flashed back to maybe 2008 or 9, where Faith, Granny, Chantal, Mom, myself and Taryn, Kenny, I think you were becoming a South African color drum majorette. I don't think you were there. But we went to Hermanus, and we were at our favorite flatlet that we would always rent. And we were chatting, lekker chatting, because that's what we always did. That is my experience with my two mothers, collectively and individually. Communicating, sharing. We would share stories, memories, jokes, experiences, thoughts, feelings, dreams, hopes, again and again for hours. And this day, the only memory I've held on to from those lekker chats is Granny saying, "Don't get me wrong, I loved being a mother, but I really found my place in this life and in this world as a grandmother." That's who Granny was, a grandmother. And it kind of made me think, we all know what a mother she is, but what makes you grand? How do you become a grandmother? I believe Faith earned that title through her attitude, her actions, and her acceptance of others. My contact for her in my phone was Granny Matriarch Booysen. There are endless ways to memorialize Faith, but today I have the unique perspective and experience of being her granddaughter. And today I give this speech not only for me, but on behalf of my sisters and my cousins, her other grandkids. So, Granny's attitude. I mean, where could you begin? Jeez. She was kind, caring, thoughtful, intelligent, wise, fun, funny. My goodness, was our Granny funny? Our Granny could always make us laugh, young. She would make paper straw worms from restaurants across the world, Namibia, South Africa. On behalf of my gran and we would like to apologize to all wait staff on this earth. My granny would always say, "You could tell the Booysens were here." And she would say to the waitress, "I am so sorry. Here's a big tip." She would let us laugh at her toes that would cramp up in weird ways, especially in the cold. She was so hilarious with her Charlie Chaplin, Lucille Ball face impressions, her expressions, the way she told her stories, the way she made fun of herself. You know, for all of her intelligence and wisdom, it never felt like she took life that seriously. She carried herself with grace and elegance, a grand dame, a grande dame, with a light touch. This deep-thinking, airy Aquarian would let Kendra paint her face like a clown, like a scary monster, or as Kendra would say, Gran would say, "Kenny, what are you doing to me?" And she'd say, "Gran, I'm trying to make you look as horrible as possible." My Gran would just laugh and lie there for hours while I hogged the TV endlessly, as she encouraged me to do. I remember her bringing us endless sugary tea, bacon and eggs in bed. She bought us sweeties, whether they were asked for or not. We were spoiled. She would tell us that it was her duty as a granny to do that, and she loved doing it. We had a blessed childhood, and she was a massive part of that. This leads me to her actions as a grandma. The last Mother's Day, I sent a message to our immediate mothers. I thanked Claudia for her kindness, Tanya for her dedication, and Granny for her generosity. Granny lived for her family, and she lived her life in service of others, mostly her family. She was always concerned with the fact how we were doing, if we were okay. Yo, guys. I'm not saying Gran didn't know how to take care of herself. Oh, Lord. Yeah, Granny's crying. Thank you. Granny is crying. All right. Granny knew what she liked. Granny knew what she didn't like. And she knew how to express it. As we all know, and hopefully one day the planet will too, she saw a crack in the mystery of Stonehenge. She took action, and she wrote her first book. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. I'll carry on. We were actually invited to Paris to collect her first book award. And it was one of the most memorable trips Kenny and I ever took with her. See, my Gran showed her love in her service to others. Not with her words, but with her actions. From countless gifts to planning family lunches where we could all be together. Granny would organize the farm for us and for our wants and our desires. Granny would plan amazing holidays and insist I plan the itinerary. Granny came to every concert. Granny came to every recital. Because Granny's actions spoke louder than her words, we have endless memories to cherish forever. Finally, her acceptance of others. The past week, we've been going through photos, videos, and songs to prepare for today. In doing so, I realized something major. I have never felt judged by Faith Arneld Booysen. I looked back on cringy high school photos in black colors, wild haircuts, and way over-accessorized. And I tried to think of any memory, any comments or critique, any eye or her grandchildren. She just encouraged us to be as happy as we could be. My experience of living on and off with my granny in the past decade has been one of total acceptance. That is, as I said, we like to chat. That's what we most like to do. We've commiserated and we've celebrated. Granny knew more of my secrets than anyone in this family, I think even my sisters, and she never treated me any differently. Unconditional love and acceptance. Granny, I'm gonna miss that most of all. Even like Tanya. I remember as young as I was, when Tanya came into the family, a ball of fire and sass, I thought, how am I gonna handle this? How's my grandma gonna handle this? She didn't. There was nothing to handle. My Gran and Tanya became thick as thieves, as different as they are. Even if Tanya said things to shock Granny, fork and knife now. She just accepted us. She loved us. And at the very most, she would just say, oof, that Tanya, I wouldn't want to mess with her. You know, I thought I was the movie buff of the family, but going through this past week, I realize now Granny was the OG movie buff. I've come to the conclusion that through her endless movie watching, documentary consuming, book devouring spirit, she came to see life not only like Joni Mitchell from both sides, but from all sides. She may not have been an artist, but she certainly loved art, and she really loved the plight and stories of artists. I can't watch America's Got Talent because of the soul-crushing stories, the poverty, the struggle, the strife. But our granny sat every day with a tear or many rolling down her cheek, cheering these artists from every background. She accepted my authentic soul and expression, and she did so authentically. Authenticity is the neuroception of safety, and maybe that's why I've always felt safe with her. It is so heartwarming and soul-affirming to look around this room and to know how loved she is. I share these stories with you today, not only to memorialize her, but hopefully to inspire you all through her attitudes, her actions, and her acceptance of others. My grandmother was so grand, it is no coincidence that her initials are F-A-B, Fab. The week before she died, we did all her favorite things. We went to lunch, family lunch on the Sunday at her favorite, the Hussar Grill, or as she would say, the Hussar Grill. Right after that, I'd slept over at her house 2 nights. We had the most amazing Women's Day together with all of her favorites, family, German food, of course, Hackbrötchen, cake, tea, coffee, and of course, Granny's dry white wine. We chatted. We shared some classic Booysen memories. My ex would always say, you and your family, you could share the same stories again and again and again. And he was right. We love doing that. Desiree, Taryn, and I, we actually stayed the latest. And we stayed so late that my granny fell asleep twice in the chair. And I remember looking at her, and I thought, damn, I know she's tired, but I really don't want to go. It was only until the 3rd time she fell asleep that I called it and we left. Maybe that's why, after the initial shock of hearing that my gran died, my first thought was, I'm so peaceful with this. I'm so peaceful with the time we spent together, for all the times we had, even at the end. And look, just like you, I'm really greedy, and I really wish we had more time. But I am really so grateful for all the time we have, and I'm eternally grateful for all those memories. Gran discovered conclusively that Stonehenge is a calendar, a way to track and mark time. I hope you all think of her every time you look at your calendar. Is it empty? Is it full? Is it crammed with work? Are you making time for yourself, for your life, and for the people you love? The importance of time cannot be underestimated. It's all we have, and it's running out every day. Granny, you were like a second mother to me, and a fairy tale grandmother to all of us. On behalf of myself, Kendra, Taryn, Giovanna, Trinity, and Tiffany, I love you, we love you, I miss you, we will always miss you. Thank you, Gran, for everything.
Certainly not the easiest thing to do, Melissa, but you did a fantastic job. Well done. Can I ask Giovanna, you want to come and say something?
To my loving granny, I never had a chance to say goodbye to you. At least I get a chance right now. Goodbye, Mom. To my loving Granny, I never had a chance to say goodbye to you. At least I get a chance right now. Goodbye, my dear Granny. You're the kindest, lovable, sweet Granny in the whole wide world. I will never, ever forget about you. Thank you, Granny, for being the best Granny in the world. I remember when we were 3 years old and you gave me a talking Tom cat Teddy, and I loved him so much. He became my best friend, and I still have Tom after 8 years. I sleep with him every single night. From now on, every single night, I will have Tom in my arms, and I will always keep thinking about you. I remember when we were in Hermanus, we watched the whales jump out of the ocean, and we went to the beach. You were always wearing sunglasses and a very pretty hat. And you always wore your black pants on. I thought it was so funny when you were dressed like that at the beach. I always loved how it looked on you, by the way. You always cheered me up when I was sad, and you always listened to my orals and speeches and those stuff. And you were always very proud of me and made me smile. And I remember we learned on the computer about pyramids. It was very interesting to learn with you. You always used to print pictures of the pyramids for me. It was so fascinating, and I always loved it. Thank you, Granny, for doing that for me. Last year, I had a chess tournament, and you came with me to George. You were always there for me, and always happy when I'm doing good. Granny, I promise I will make you very proud, and I know you love it when I play chess. By the way, I love it too. I will keep doing it for you. You always made me happy. I always used to touch your hair. Your hair is so nice, I'm telling you. I remember when I used to visit you, and we always had so much fun. I remember any time when I was in the car about to leave your house, you always waved at me goodbye on the pathway, and I waved back. And also you always had a big smile on your face. You always told me funny jokes. I always laughed, and it was super duper funny. Granny, I know you're in heaven right now. Please look after us and tell God that keep our family healthy and happy. I miss you so much. I will always keep in my heart forever and ever. Forever and ever. I love you to the moon and back.
Talk about a challenge. I wanted to make sure that you know that Granny heard every single word. Okay. Rosalind, if I could ask you to come forward, please.
Right. Are we going to, am I going to battle with the rain? Right, morning everyone. We've all heard how amazing Faith is. So obviously I'm going to tell you more about what she was like when we were kids. So those are those secrets that are going to come out. Now, you'll all notice the Faith Arneld Booysen. All 9 of us have actually got my father's name, which was actually Arnold. Except that the girls' names the O was changed to an E. So it's Faith Arneld, Vivian Arneld, Rosalind Arneld, Marilyn Arneld, as well as Colleen. And then, of course, the boys was Ashley Arnold, Grant Arnold, John and Gavin. So you can always remember us as the Arnold Hughes family. So, of course, now there are three sisters left, which is Vivian, myself, and Marilyn. But being the close family we really are still sort of 9 left. We basically 3 sisters-in-law, which is Dorette and Pietro over there, and Cheryl up in Johannesburg, which is Grant, Gavin, and Ashley, our eldest brother's wives. And then there are 3 brothers-in-law, Brian, my husband, and then Ian and Darnie at the back there, which is Colleen's husband. So now on to Faith. You know, that gentle, kind, always generous person. She actually had a nickname in Windhoek, and it was Kwailand, which would actually be Angerland, because, boy, don't push her too far, she would get very angry. She was quite famous for having various comments and talks. And two of them that come to mind was, I have been young and I've been old, and young is better. The other one, of course, is my get up and go has gone and left me. So you just be careful, keep your get up and go. Now, as Faith was really quite single-minded. She used to work at the Allied Building Society in Windhoek, which was on the main road in Windhoek, and it was called Kaiserstrasse. Faith would go to work. She was always late. I don't know if you guys remember, she was always late. Faith would go to work. She'd park her car in front of the Allied Building Society. It would stay there until she went home. The traffic cops used to phone Terence, her husband, and say to him, Mr. Booysen, please tell your wife not to park on the street, because they were sick and tired of giving her tickets all the time. He'd say to them, just give the tickets, and when there's enough, he'd go and pay them. And then, of course, Faith and traffic cops. Once she was taking the two boys to school, probably a few other kids in the car as well. And she was taking them, and there were roadworks somewhere where she had to go. And as she was going along, obviously this traffic cop's hand signals were a bit muddled, and she drove when he said stop. And he walked over to her car, and she turned it down, and he looked at her and he said, you must make open your eyes. And she said, ach, voetsak, and she drove away. But then speeding, I'm sure the boys will remember, she used to fly to Swakopmund in the Mercedes-Benz. They had a holiday home there. And this one day, one of the little boys leaned over and he said, gee, Mrs. Booysen, do you know you're doing 200 kilometers an hour? Well, those stupid kids went and told their parents they never ever went to Swakop again. So, although Faith was very good in that way, her sense of direction really was terrible. I'm not sure if... Shortcut. The short was long. Faith and I went on a holiday. It was just after I'd started working. Faith went down to Durban. So she was there first, and then I arrived later. We went into the hotel room, and I said, what are we going to do now? No, we're going to go to movies. Move it quickly, it's far to go. Okay, fine, Faith knows where we're going. Out of the hotel, and we start walking. This is Durban, 1960-something. Walk up 10 blocks. We've got to go through the OK Bazaars. We go across the OK Bazaar, the block, and we start walking down. And as we're walking down, I'm looking and I'm thinking, gee, I'm sure I saw that. I'm sure I saw that. I'm sure I saw that. Wow. So we went up 10 blocks through there, 8 back, and there was the movie house. So now when we come out, I say, Faith, let's just walk across here and go down. We'll be at the hotel. No, we won't. No, we won't. Faith, I can assure you we will be. No. I said, well, okay, then you go back that way. I'm going to go to the hotel. I'll have tea and coffee waiting for you. Okay, then she eventually said, okay. She walks with me. We get to the hotel 2 blocks down. She says, oh. Nothing else. Nothing else. There's a funny story. My sister Marilyn and Renee must have been 11. Renee was a cousin. We went from Windhoek to the Rand Easter show. I mean, wow, this is now Windhoek to their Sky Master all the way over. So, of course, when we get there, Faith, this elegant lady, we have to wear hats to the Rand Easter show. Okay, it was the 60s. She forced me to go and buy a hat, and I bought this hideous black feather thing. So now we're going to the Rand Easter show, and we're walking down. And as we're walking along, I'm now not impressed with this hat. And Faith, Renee, and Marilyn are walking along there and walking. people walk past us and they say, mad. Wow, my face. Just then they took a photograph, so there's proof. I mean, Faith loved traveling, as you mentioned. She just loved traveling all over the world. When she was in Australia, the one she went to Uluru, obviously, Ayers Rock. And when she was there, she was most indignant because when she came back, they'd put a sticker on her suitcase. Heavy, bend knees when lifting. Now, the audacity of doing that was terrible. But, I mean, there obviously are hordes and hordes and hordes of stories that I can tell you about. But just know that Faith had an amazing, wonderful life. And obviously, you know, just being kind is one of the major things. But then I must just tell you, I just did bring the little book along with me. This Faith, Colleen, and I used to meet once a week while we were living here. And we would have, Faith would organize supper for us. Absolutely super, Woolies. And then we'd come back, and then we'd sit and discuss stories. So one day Faith came around and gave me this book. So I'll just read the inscription so you can see what she was like. Dear Ros was browsing through exclusive books and picked this book. As soon as I read the first page after the introduction, I knew this book was for both of us. The universe always provides. Hope you enjoy. Love, Faith. There's a postscript. I'm going then soon to buy one for myself. So she actually came to my office and gave me this book. The name of the book is Change Your Mind and Your Life Will Follow. So amazing. That is one of the ways one can always remember faith, is keep your mind in the right place and your life will follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask Warren to come up, please?
Thank you, everyone. Sure. Melissa, fantastic. Ros, fantastic. Giovanna, I'm very proud of you. All right, I just have a few thanks to say to everyone here, everyone on the stream, specifically people that have traveled from afar. Pastor Troy, magnificent theme you set. Terry, for arranging the cremation, the private ceremony for the family this week. I thought that was very good. Private moments with the family. Kendra, I have to thank you for the pamphlets, the photos, putting this all together and arranging the service with Terry. Ken and his team at the funeral home, you guys have made this a week that we could cope, thanks to you guys. The staff of Goed Geleven, I'd also like to thank you. I'd also like to thank the attending doctors at Mediclinic and Panorama. They did everything they could. All right, and I'd specifically like to thank Wouter Besson for escalating my mom's procedure this week, for arriving at Panorama, and there's 7 patients there, and he took one look at Faith and took her pulse, and he just said, "You're next." And he really escalated things for my mom. Unfortunately, the heart was too weak to survive the procedure. I want to thank Tanya and Claudia for being there for Terry and I this week. My mom loves you girls as daughters. Melissa, Kendra, Taryn, Giovanna, Trinity, and Tiffany, for being there for your daddies and your mummies this week. Your granddaughters were a pride and joy, as Melissa said. Des, thank you for being there for us this week, and thank you for being there for my mom, especially after your mom passed. And so it's just great knowing that you were with her so many times. Julia, My special thanks to you for being there for my mom at hospital and being there at Panorama with me when the horrible news broke. You are truly part of the family. To our surviving sisters, Roz, Viv, and Marilyn, my thoughts are with Marilyn and Auntie Ian. Uncle Ian, sorry, for assisting us in taking the calls this week and the questions and the memories that you shared with my granddaughter, with Kendra specifically. Auntie Petru, Auntie Dorette, thank you for the support and the calls this week. You guys just lifted us all up. I want to thank Taryn for the beautiful epitaph of my mom. It's in the pamphlet. I implore you guys to read it. And again, thank you, Melissa, for a chat. On behalf of the granddaughters, it was magnificent. Auntie Roz, as ever, the best speech for the youth family and her sisters. Giovanna, I'm super proud of you. At the moment. I have to thank everyone that sent messages this week from afar, specifically work colleagues of my mom in Namibia, Benny, France, etc. So many friends from Namibia who couldn't be here. Apologies for everyone that I've left out. When looking at the do's and don'ts of unity this week, nothing resonated for me. You know, the epitaph of my mom is there. But then hearing what Troy told me, it's just about memories, all I could think about was my mom. And she was very quiet. You know, I know she was the accountant for various services, the true idea of my company. But I just couldn't remember. I just remember the idiosyncrasies of my mom. The little things, the goodies that I would know, and the golden nuggets, the good stuff. Including living on a farm and driving a Morris Minor to deliver eggs, even to put them on. That's unbelievable. I remember a neighboring farmer who came over to the farm, telling my mom that as anyone seen his prized chinchilla. And my mom was like, no, you have to be here all or whatever. And when the guy left, I remember looking totally shocked and saying, I asked my father for sure if this rat he's ever seen last week. So I didn't feel the golden nugget. It's my mom taking us to our Irish and the place and sharing time with the siblings. When I was the older brothers and sisters, that was some of the best times of our life, was sharing family environment with the music. I also remember I went to projectors in the 70s that were massive, with massive movie reels that we used to take over to watch our Netflix and the Genex days, you know. And our Uncle Abel at the movie shop would say this version was the number one fan. I remember my mom putting lounge seats to the car. Oh, sorry. So I remember my mom putting lounge seats to the car for the 70 people. I remember Yeah, let me just say, I remember my mom putting on sweets spice so much so that I can still sing the words 40 years later. I remember the long trips driving that big tank-like white SE 500 with Gavin, Iris and Terry, either to PE or Joburg to visit her family. Those are moments you just won't forget. I also remember Terry and I on our first trip overseas. And back when the Rand was the Rand, and the tour group leader organized her son to pick up Mrs. Booysen in a Porsche and take her on a personal tour in Washington. And Terry and I would just not allow. And we gave her radiator services here in functions with the 80 shoulder pads and the big hair and the $1 million outfits. Really a beautiful woman. Then you start remembering things like Terry coming to my mom early morning. There was a hair inspection at school, and Terry had just had this beautiful 80s perm done. And he was like, you've got to cut the hair to get it to the ear size, or to the level of the ear. And I'm watching this little lot, and she takes snips, and I just see this lock bounce back to I think that was one of the many times I heard the famous Hughes giggle as Terry ran off in absolute horror. It's things like her knocking on my door in the 80s with a group full of teens and saying, Kentucky, anyone? And of course, she would just go get Kentucky weekend after weekend. And soon I noticed the friends were just getting more and more over the weekends, and she would absolutely ensure whether it was 10 buckets, but she would get them for the friends. It's also memories of her, Terry and I. I remember one day she was on the beach, and Terry and I were going out surfing. And I was sort of at the front, and I realized that this is a magnificently violent swell that's coming our way, and I could sense immediately that my mom would be freaking out on that beach. But I just thought, let's go for it, just keep going. I looked behind me, Terry was gone, Patrick was gone, Brian was gone, they were all back on shore. Turned around and I saw my mom with that big white Merc and the flashing lights, and she's going to faint, she's going to this. And then I actually caught the wave just to tell her, look, I'm fine, I can actually surf, but how it's soothing Terry after his famous chopper bicycle wipeout in the 70s when Gavin and I were throwing grenadillas in the courtyard and seeing how Terry could slip and slide with his chopper. Terry taking a massive wipeout and my mom being there for him, and then of course it's tears and it's Mercuro Chrome brew. That is the stuff that we were raised in the 80s. Also a famous Rasta jacket wipeout of Terry in the middle of Kaiser Street. He had a huge jacket on and he was driving his RZ80. Took a massive wipe because his jacket got caught in the chain. And again, it was Granny and the super Mercuro Chrome cure. I actually just read recently they've banned the stuff because apparently it was full of Chinese lead. But that's how we rolled in Gen X, man. But yeah, just how she then organized for Terry to get the jacket fixed and shortened and everything. I remember my mom's laugh with Auntie Irmgard and Uncle Peter at the house parties. Uncle Peter could carry, and just the laugh of these German friends of ours and how she enjoyed house parties. Auntie Kay and Uncle Jürgen, who couldn't, obviously they couldn't come down, but I remember such good times and my mom's giggle and laugh. I also remember Terry and I flying off a boat that my dad bought in the middle of Addap, and my mom being thrown off the boat because the boat was sinking. And it was it's Uncle Terence's first boat, and her sort of pushing and nudging Terry and I to shore, and sort of watching my mom's anger build as we were walking back to where the boat was launched, and then we getting there, and John Terence getting the 8th parada of the century because he forgot to put the boat plugs in. in the boat, and you know how angry my mom was with him, but that's the things. And then I also remember, you know, how she would do anything for a child. And I remember Terry using my boat in basic training when I was in basic training. I heard about this later, where Terry and his ex-wife and a friend of mine took the boat all the way to the end of Vonbach, which is not advised when you're alone in Vonbach, and then just Terry not coming back at 6 o'clock and that Sunday night. And you know, my mom, I can just imagine how my mom felt, that now, you know, sent John Terrence had to get out there, and when he got out there, there's just a car and a trailer there, and it's the middle of the night, you know, and her son's gone. But typical to form, she told John Terrence, you're going to mobilize the SWAT-TF to find these kids. And my dad doing everything he could to do that. And eventually, I was at a base, and I just saw cars and jeeps run off, and that was Mrs. Booysen trying to find her son. And just the theme of she would do anything. So I actually saw my mom mobilize an army for a kid. Yeah, and then of course, it's the famous running into my mom at the farm, and she's telling me the story about Kendra and her working out this back scratcher that they're going to patent. And I'm like listening to the story thinking, a back scratcher patent. And she says, yeah, she's been thinking about what we're going to call it and everything, and she's playing around with her name and Kendra's name. And she says, no, she thinks she's going to combine it. And then I'm listening to this in Faith and Kendra. And then she says, but it probably won't work because I'd have to call it the Fark and back scratcher. So yeah, this is the goal that you remember, and I'm sure everyone's got their memories. Auntie Rose, I was also going to mention the famous get up and go has got up and went. But I do remember her also saying one, if it's too much effort. I also remember her saying the only guarantee in life is change. And very wise words that we're going to discover now. And then, yeah, I also remember when my late wife passed, me standing in front of a scrum of parents from Kiro, all offering to take my kids to school, and Granny sort of behind them, you know, just waiting her turn, and everyone's finished. And then she walks up and says, I'll do it, and I'm doing it. End of story, just stepped up for Chantal. And, you know, she actually drove the kids to school, picked them up until her eyes went for the sugar. So she did that for a good 5 solid years until the day that she was ordered not to drive. In the later years, my memories of, you know, Terry phoning her and this picking up her cell phone and realizing it's Terry, and watch this cell phone fly in the air and do a triple twist and catch it and says, oh my God, it's Terry. And answering it, you know, and seeing how she just wanted Terry to always know she's good. All right, and then, you know, even till the last, I remember Monday morning, the morning she had the heart attack, that I sent a video to her at about 8, 9 o'clock, and it wasn't, hi Warren, I've had a heart attack. It was a video of a Broadway dancer. And her reply was, wow, that woman can move. Meanwhile, she's just had a heart attack. And it just shows you how defending her children and her family was everything. It even extended to the hospital. I get a call that she's at a hospital from Julia, and the words were, she's been tired of late, you know, and we're just doing some checkups, you know. Meanwhile, it's clear and obvious she had the heart attack that morning. And then it became ridiculous where it's, Warren, I'm going to the ICU, and I'm like, this is bad, you know. And she says, no, they're taking me to the ICU because the toilet's closer, you know. And it's like, I'm thinking there are toilets in all the bedrooms in Mediclinic, you know. And it just shows you to what extent she didn't want to hurt her children. Yeah, so that was just the theme of faith, you know, everything for a child, everything for those who she loved. And that's just, how I'll remember my mom, those special moments. Yeah, and just in closing, I'd like to say that I remember the famous trifle and Xmas lunches that were so special to her every year. I'd also like to mention how charitable a person she was. I had a chat with Janita Zert, Auntie Kay's daughter. I phoned to let Auntie Kay know. And she was telling me the story. I mean, Janita is in our 50s like Terry and I. And she said, I remember your mom giving me an envelope when she was 18. And a wad of cash in there. And she went and bought 3 duvet sets. And she says she's still got those duvet sets on her bed for her children. And, every other day she sees and puts her kids to bed and she thinks of Auntie Faith, And I was immediately thinking, I know Janita was not the only recipient of these famous envelopes from Mrs. Booysen. But that just goes to show you the effect that she had on people throughout. And I remember thinking to myself how my mom and dad would build houses for our domestic workers. They built a house for Helena, our worker in Swakop, and she built a house for Amadoli, and so on. Just thinking, that is such a magnificent person that could do something like that, especially in the 80s, let me tell you. I just want you to know, Terry, the pride and joy that she had when you guys finally became a family. It was one of the great highlights. I also want to just thank Claudia and my mom for stepping up after my late wife passed, and how you guys took the last 10 years and stood together for Chantal. Thank you very much. And I just want you to know that the last thing I heard from my mom at the hospital was the famous used giggle again, because she, when we got to the hospital, she was in such a good mood, and ambulance staff were there saying, "This is my son," and we had such a great ride in the ambulance, Warren. And Terry and I, like, she's got to keep quiet, she's got to gather her strength. This is a big procedure you're going through. So sort of telling her, "Please, Mom, just keep quiet now. This is a massive procedure coming," and her looking at me like a little child. Okay. And then I said to her, "I'm going to go outside now and have a heart attack after this bloody week." And then I looked at her and I said, "Apparently this is the best place to have one." And then she had the massive, beautiful, beautiful giggle, and that's the last thing I heard. So yes, the pastor is correct. These are the golden moments, and it's different for all of us. And that's the only thing that we must carry in our hearts, and I'm sure that's true for everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Beautiful words. Can I quickly ask, who's the practical joker that organized this weather? Granny. Does she like to get the last word? Because it seems like it today. We are going to now watch a video, and you're going to see this video is moments in time, photographs of Faith. Maybe many of you are also in these photographs, and I would love you just to encourage you to reflect on her life as you watch these photographs flash by. And then after we've done that, we're going to just have a minute's silence where we can reflect on her. Thank you.
And I'd give up forever to touch you, 'cause I know that you feel me somehow. You're the closest to heaven that I'll ever be, and I don't wanna go home right now. And all I could taste is this moment, and all I can breathe is your light. And sooner or later it's over, I just don't wanna miss you tonight. tears that ain't coming, all the moment of truth in your lies. When everything feels like the movies, yeah, you bleed just to know you're alive. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am. I just want you to know who I am. I just want you to know who I am. I sit and wait. Does an angel contemplate my fate? Do they know the places where we go when we're gray and old? 'Cause I have been told that salvation lets their wings unfold. So when I'm lying in my bed, thoughts running through my head, and I feel that love is dead, I'm loving angels instead. And through it, oh, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection, whether I'm right or wrong, and down the waterfall, wherever it may take me, I know that life won't break me. When I come to call, she won't forsake me. I'm loving angels instead. When I'm feeling weak and my pain walks down a one-way street, I look above and I know I'll always be blessed with love. And as the feeling grows,
I would like you to just take this moment now in your own capacity and reflect on faith. would like to once again thank everybody for being here. We are going to invite you in a moment to come to the hall next door, the venue next door, where you will be invited to have some refreshments. It'll be an opportunity for you guys to talk about the memories that you had of faith. Can I ask that we just close our eyes and ask for God's blessing as we part ways? Our God and loving Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity that we've had today to remember all these memories, these special moments that we've shared with Faith. The meaning that she had in our lives, the importance she had in our lives, the laughter, the caring, the selflessness, everything that she was. Father, we know that you've taken Faith to be with yourself. You will look after her soul, and she'll be waiting for all of us at some point to join her. We will see her again. We ask once again that you'll be with each and every one of us in this very difficult and dark hour. We give thanks in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. We're going to listen to one more doodle-suck bagpipe, and then you can start making your way to the hall. Please be careful. It's drizzling outside, so don't get wet. Thank you very much. Just so that you know, that piece of music, Sleep, Dearie Sleep, was played at the Queen's funeral. But it's so appropriate here. Thank you. Will you join us next door? Thank you.
Wanneer dat wel gedaan is, dan